Welcome back, boys, to Dirty Bird Sports, and today we're going back at it with the Saturday Squawk podcast, Week 4 edition. Had some crazy games this weekend. It was a little slow, though, I'll be honest. But we'll start right off the bat, Georgia versus South Carolina. One of the most entertaining games of the week for me. Georgia comes off out of it with the victory against the Gamecocks. The game was a South Carolina lead at halftime, but Georgia comes storming back in the second half. Started to figure things out with their quarterback and offense. Defense really shut down Spencer Rattler at the end of the game. Really couldn't get anything going on offense, and South Carolina's defense wasn't great. So, I mean, could have been better for, the average fan having Georgia go down, but I think they're the one legit team in the SEC this year, and I think they're just continually getting better and finding out what their offense really is. So, good effort for South Carolina, but you lost. So, this game will not matter in any way eventually for us. Next up, Florida versus Tennessee. This is many people's game of the week last week. Big upset, I guess, per se. But the one thing I do say that we're still in kind of the range of we don't really have a lot of context for a lot of these ranked teams. Like Tennessee hadn't really played anybody, and they were ranked 11th. That's straight off of preseason rankings. And pretty much riding the wave of last year's team being actually pretty good. So I don't think that Tennessee's really that good. And I also don't think Florida's that good either. I don't think either team should be ranked. I think they're getting that SEC benefit of the doubt. Florida comes out with the win. Dominant offensive line and running back performance. Trevor Etienne was insane this game. Graham Mertz, their quarterback, was fine. Didn't really put up any mind-boggling numbers, but he doesn't really need to. He can just really rely on that offensive line and running game to carry him through. Tennessee's offense really showed that it might be more of a weakness than a strength this year. A lot of people thought they were going to have that wide playmaking, wide receivers, big flashy offense, and I don't think that's going to be the case. Joe Milton has a cannon on there, but his accuracy is bad. I mean, that one interception that he threw was awful. Next up, Washington versus Michigan State. This game, two Big Ten members next year going at it. But unfortunately, this was a dud. I mean, never competitive. I wasn't expecting it to be competitive, as I said in last week's preview. So I kind of saw this coming. Looks like Mel Tucker's on his way out, which is probably the good thing for this program. They weren't really headed anywhere in the right direction, and also sounds like he's a bad dude. So yeah, statement defensive game for Washington. And then probably most people's game of the week this week was Kansas State versus Missouri. This was a interesting game, longest field goal in SEC history to end the game. So great job for Missouri. Missouri's offense looks real, and they look good. That's all I have to say. I mean, their offense looks good. Maybe it's Kansas State not being great and the Big 12 having a down year, but who knows? So good for Missouri getting a statement home win against a Power 5 team. Next up is the 1,000 Problems segment, the segment where I bring to you all my problems with the latest AP poll. This one I think is pretty okay other than the problems that I addressed last week, even though most of them got figured out. Florida at 25 is really my own main gripe. I don't think that they're worthy of a top 25 team. I mean, we saw what they did against a Utah team that had no starters, essentially. They got dismantled. And I don't think Florida or Tennessee in that game is going to be very stellar this year. So I just think it's a bunch of overrated teams going at it, and they got the benefit of the doubt for being in the SEC, essentially. So, I mean, if that was a Pac-12 team, say that's like Cal, they're same record. If they beat Tennessee, they probably wouldn't be ranked right now, and that's kind of like the same level that I'm viewing these teams. The next segment is going to be I'm going to need a beer to finish this game. That would be Ohio versus Iowa State. 7-10 finish. What a game, can I say? I think the most entertaining part of this game was the post-game fireworks between Matt Campbell, Iowa State's head coach, and a fan telling him that he's on the hot seat, and he got, it was kind of funny to watch. And honestly, I bet this game had probably 500 viewers. terrible. Like, genuine. How do you score 7 points in a modern day college football game? Against Ohio, too. And you lost? You were in the Fiesta Bowl a couple years back. You beat my Oregon Ducks, and now you're losing to Ohio by 3 points in a 7-10 game? I feel bad for all Iowa fans. Iowa's ranked, but offense is still pretty bad, and Iowa State showing why they suck again this year. So, who knows? Moving on to our next segment, my favorite segment, the Bedwetter of the Week award. This one was pretty contested. It could have gone to Florida State, had a dicey game against Boston College. Could have gone to Alabama, once again, coming out with a dicey win against South Florida. Also, why is that game being played in South Florida? Like, why is that? I don't get that. But I ended up just going with the Big 12 conference as a whole. I mean, this conference is looking weak other than a couple teams that are leaving next year. So, great things coming for the Big 12. Let me just read off some notable scorelines. Oklahoma State lost to South Alabama 33-7. What can you even say? That is terrible. Iowa State lost to Ohio, as I previously mentioned. Cincinnati lost to Miami of Ohio, which I'm just like, what is up with you Big 12 teams losing to Ohio teams that are not Ohio State? So I don't get that one either. That one at least was not a blowout. And then Kansas State lost to Missouri. That's a respectable finish. That's a Power 5 team against a Power 5 team, but still Big 12 is looking very weak this year. Kind of wish that the Pac-12 was still a thing rather than them. That's all I'm gonna say. Our second to last segment of the show is the We're Never Going to Recover from This Fan Base award. Alabama made a great case to repeat this week, almost losing to South Florida in a very dicey game where no quarterbacks really made their name, and Jalen Milroe kind of won the starting job by not playing. What can I say? But honestly, I think this is going to be a tie between Oklahoma State and Michigan State. I think Michigan State has a little bit more hope because you're going to have a new head coach coming in there and a new program aesthetic and all that. You have more hope, but it's going to be a rough rest of the season. I mean, head coach scandals, you're not going to have a head coach for the rest of the season. You're going to have an interim get blown out of the water by Washington. Michael Penix diced you guys up like you were a FCS team. It was bad. And then Oklahoma State, obviously your program's in a little bit of a limbo status. You're kind of like a transfer portal team. You have everybody go. I mean, you have your guy Spencer Sanders leaving to be a backup at Ole Miss, which I don't really get, but still. So you don't really have a team right now, and you kind of lost a lot of talent without bringing a lot in. So I think that's a problem with them. They're trying to be, I don't know what they're trying to do. If they're trying to be a transfer portal team, more power to them, but I don't think it looks like it's working out right now. So good luck, but honestly, I am happy to see you guys lose. Both teams, Michigan State and Oklahoma State. Y'all can go die, for all I care. Next up, our final segment, predictions. We're going to start off with the game of the week. Notre Dame versus Ohio State. This game is in South Bend. Ohio State, at the time of recording, is currently has a slight lean and a 3.5 favorite. Over-under is 54 points. I think that's going to be met. I think these are two offenses. Well, at least Notre Dame's offense is an offense that is very capable against score against a Ohio State defense and a Power 5 level top 10 defense. Sam Hartman looks elite, and their offense as a whole just looks good. And obviously their defenses look decent too because they got Marcus Freeman as their head coach and obviously a capable defensive coordinator. ESPN gives Ohio State a 65.7% chance to win this game. I think it should be close. I think it being in South Bend is the difference maker. So I am not going to take Ohio State. I'm taking Notre Dame for the upset, 28-24. A statement game from Sam Hartman, fueling his Heisman resume and case. I think it's going to go well for him. So I think it's game of the week for me for sure. This is on NBC at 5:30. A little weird, but at least it's not on Peacock and you can actually watch the game. Next up, in Salt Lake City, Utah versus UCLA, ranked matchup. Utah's currently favored by 4.5 points. Over-unders have 51. ESPN gives Utah 65.6% chance to win. I think this game is obviously hinging on the fact entirely if Cam Rising plays or not, and if Utah can get some level of depth to return from their injuries. I mean, they're battling right now. I mean, well, that Weber State game last week was not pretty for them, but they managed to get through with a pretty, it's Weber State. You're not going to lose. Dante Moore is a great quarterback. I wish he still would have came to my Oregon Ducks last year, but did not. Went to UCLA. Obviously starting immediately, so it's not the worst decision. But he's been really good. UCLA's caliber of opponent hasn't been great. So, but I do think they're a good football team. Great quarterback. Good enough defense, and they have a decent array of weapons around their quarterback. So yeah, if Cam Rising doesn't come back, I think UCLA wins this game pretty sizably. I think they're good enough. But if he does come back, I think Utah wins in a close game, 24-21. I'm going to just assume that he comes back, although Whittingham has not said anything. He said he's going to wait 48 hours to see what's going on, and obviously not going to tell anybody till game time. So I think if Cam Rising plays, Utah wins. If he doesn't, UCLA wins sizably. Next up, Bama versus Ole Miss. This is another ranked matchup, which is kind of crazy that we have so many, and I'm not even covering half of them. But I think, so Bama's covered by 7. This is in Tuscaloosa. Over/under is around 56, depending on where you look. I don't think Alabama's offense is that great, and I don't think anybody else does either. Jalen Miller was obviously their number one. Simpson and Buckner really did not show anything during that South Florida game, which is pathetic. And their offensive line is way worse than I thought it would be, obviously. And their running backs are decent, but they can't really do anything again behind the offensive line right now. And on the other side, Ole Miss's running game has been pretty good, and I think Jackson Dart's having an underrated season. I think this game being in Tuscaloosa is making me second guess what my gut is saying, because I think Ole Miss should win this game favorably, because Alabama has not showed me anything to inspire confidence this year, and Ole Miss has had some decent games, so I'm just going to go with it. I do think Alabama's going to pull it out 55-42. That's my prediction. I could totally see Ole Miss coming out with a victory, though. I think Alabama's good enough to pull through, and I don't think Ole Miss can go into Tuscaloosa after your last home game's a loss against a ranked Texas team. So those fans are going to be mad, and you're obviously a rival, not Auburn, Bama type stuff, but still. So I'm taking Bama to win. Next up, primetime heads to Eugene, Oregon, Colorado, over/under at 71. Oregon's heavily favored by 21 points. Also have a 93% chance to win, according to ESPN's FBI. This game, I think Oregon has gotten lucky by having this stage presented to them. Obviously, Colorado's the story of the college football season right now. Coach Prime and them have been surpassing expectations from the snap one. So I think this is great. I do think that this game is going to be a lopsided victory towards Oregon. I'm going 54-17. I think Bo Nix is going to look at this opportunity and be like, this is my opportunity to tell the country how good I've been so far this year and truly announce myself as a Heisman candidate. It is in Eugene. Bo Nix, Troy Franklin connection's going to be elite, obviously. I think that they're still I think they're one of the best QB wide receiver duos in the nation. So I think Oregon wins heavily, 54-17. Next up, all these games have been ranked matchups, which is kind of crazy to me. And you also have Florida State, Clemson too, which is a great game. But my last game, and I'll be predicting Iowa versus Penn State. Over/under is 40.5. Penn State's favored by around 14.5 points. They have an 86.7% chance to win, according to ESPN. And I think that those estimates are correct. I think Penn State wins 35-17. I think Drew Aller, Nick Singleton, and their stable of running backs and their great defense is going to just plow through Iowa. I don't think their offense is like high octane firepower, put up 50 points on this team. I think they're good, but I don't think they're that good, So I think 35-17 is conservative. I don't think Iowa gets anywhere near that 25 magical point margin that they've set their offensive coordinator. And he hasn't gone past it so far this year, so why should he get it against the best defense he played so far? So, I don't know. I don't know how Iowa's ranked still. I don't think that they've shown me anything that inspires confidence outside of their defense, which is always going to be good year in, year out. So, anyway, that's my predictions. So that's been week 4 of the Saturday Squawk. See y'all next time. It's been real.